What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're talking about Severance episode 4, the You Are. Like always, this will be a full recap of the whole entire episode, talking about some of the big things that happened, talking about things I liked, some things I disliked, giving you guys my rating for it. And so before we go into it, please make sure you like this video if you guys have been enjoying it. Please make sure to subscribe if you are new. But let's take a look and discuss Severance episode 4. So the episode begins with Helly's confession. We see that her apology is still not sincere enough for Milchick to believe her. And so I love seeing the perspective after they've tried enough and they sort of given up for that day, of seeing Helly's perspective, her going to the elevator. And we just we're put in a POV of her eyes, and we see the elevator close and then just opens again. And just shows this is literally her life. She can't escape it at all. Even after she's gone through countless amounts of confessions, she leaves and she's come right back to it. So I just thought it was sort of comical in a way, wow, this sucks for her, but it's also that must just be a terrible life. She's literally living in a hell. And I love that little POV shot that we're able to be put into her shoes in the opening. And so right before the opening credits, we see her back in the confession, and she hears muffled voices, and we still don't really get a good answer for this throughout the whole episode. But now I'm thinking it's that one room that Irving went into that we'll talk about when he tries to find Christopher Walken's character. And he opens it up, and there's a room full of people, and they're doing something with these machines. I'm thinking maybe those the muffled voices that she heard. Just a theory I'm putting out there. I'm not really sure what those muffled voices she might have heard in the beginning. So after the opening credits, we see Christopher Walken come to the workplace. He comes to Dylan, Mark, Irving, and he's sort of offering up an olive branch, a peace offering. He wants to give him a tour of his department. Dylan's still not having it. He still doesn't like Christopher Walken's character. But Irving wants to go visit him, and he wants to go on the tour. Obviously, there's some sort of romantic relationship playing there. And so he goes off to go visit Christopher Walken's character. Helly comes back after her confession. Seems like she finally made it sincere enough. Her eyes seem bloodshot. She seems tired. Mark asks her how many attempts, and she says it took 1,017 attempts. That is absurd. That's actually crazy to even think about. She had to go through that. And it really, you can't even blame her for what she wants to do at the end of this episode. Like I said, she's living in a hell. Over 1,000 attempts to confess. That's absolutely insane. But after this, we see Irving and Christopher Walken. They're looking over a painting. They end up sort of touching hands, and they're holding hands. This is another, instance of them progressing their relationship into something that probably bloom into something further along. I do feel like Christopher Walken is playing him, though. I feel like he's just sort of using him to find out more information about what they're doing in their department. He says a line along the lines of, Irving says something that's complimenting his department or something, and then Christopher Walken's it's not what you guys do though, and it seemed maybe he wanted Irving to continue, and it just made me think maybe he's just using Irving to find out some more insight into their department and what they're doing. So that's just sort of a theory I have. I think Christopher Walken doesn't actually like Irving. I think he just sees him the weakest link and is using him to find out more information on his department. So while Irving is walking back, he stumbles upon this conference room. We see Mark's brother-in-law's book is just on a seat there, which is really weird. I think the last time we saw that book, Harmony was giving it to Milchick, right? I think that was the last time we saw it. So, Irving even says this could be a test, a loyalty test. I think it easily could. It just seems really weird that the book just ended up right there, right? So it has to be some sort of test, I think. But Irving gets Dylan, he gets Mark. But before this, we see that Helly actually finds the photo that Mark found at the end of the last episode that Petey drew, right? And so Helly finds it. She's talking about who made this. Mark says it's probably Petey. And they sort of argue back and forth and talk about how Mark is saying how the work is his family and what they're doing is important. Helly says the work is BS, and that if this is a family, then Petey drew this map and it seems you don't even care. And then Mark takes the map and he shreds it, which was shocking for me. I was so taken aback by this. Thankfully, I'm sure there's another map out there. As we saw, Petey had a drawing of it somewhere. I'm sure he'll find another map. I think that will definitely come into play later. That map seemed really important when they first introduced it. It'd be weird for them to just sort of scrap that, by this shredding thing, and that's it. I think we're going to see more of that map at some point. But like I said, Irving comes in. He shows Mark the book, and Mark says he's going to go bring it to Milchick, right? Which, as we know, he doesn't actually do. After this, we see Helly storm into Harmony's office, threatening to cut off her fingers. This is where the episode just sort of hits you in this face with this giant, tension. All of a sudden, Helly threatens to cut off her fingers. And she wants to get a video camera so that she can make a video for her Audi. So Harmony complies. She agrees. Helly makes her video. We don't get to see what exactly she says, but we can sort of infer, what she'd probably say in that tape. They follow her as she holds the tape into the elevator, and to my surprise, they actually let her go. When she goes down to the elevator, she wakes up out of her, I don't even know, out of her severance. Like, she becomes her severance self after, right? And she's holding a different tape now. Seems like her Audi has made a video for her. And so now this was another shocking part of this episode. We see the video of the Audi, and she says that she also saw her resignation letter, which I had my doubts about in the last episode. I didn't think that she actually got her resignation letter. I thought the actual workplace was lying to her severed self and never actually gave the letter to her Audi. But as her Audi says, it says that she got her letter, so she denied it. And she says that, you know, I'm a person. Like, the Audi is a person, and you, like, you're not even a person. So she makes the rules, and you're going to just have to, like, live with this. Like, that's just life for you. And she denies another resignation, and which this took me aback. I was like, wow. And Helly continues to be, like, I think my favorite character to sort of watch in this show. I think her whole predicament is, like, the most intriguing for me. It's, like, it's just crazy. I just love her character a lot. So now back in the Audi world, we see Mark's Audi, and he learns that Petey has died, right? He learns from, like, some sort of newspaper article on his phone or something like that, right? We also hear the phone buzzing again from a blocked number. For some reason, he's not picking it up. I'm guessing this is, like, the rebellion group that Petey was talking about in, like, the second episode. I feel like that's who's calling. I don't know why, like, Mark isn't deciding to pick it up, though. At least just to hear, like, who's on the other line. I'm just wondering, like, why he's not doing that. After this, we get a quick scene of Harmony in the severed world, or the severed workplace, right? And she learns about Petey's death. And, you know, after, I think Milchick told her, right, and he leaves, she starts mumbling all these weird words. And I sort of forgot about this scene after I watched the episode. And the words are, like, cheer, wet, like, just a bunch of random words. And then she grabs a photo next to her, and it's, like, a man with a beard. And I don't know who this is. I don't know what this means, like, the random words she starts saying after she learns of Petey's death. Like, I just can't. You guys have any theories on that, or if you guys know, if you guys connected something? I just can't think of it right now. Like, I don't know why she would do that, or who that man is. I'm guessing it's her husband or something, right? And maybe that connects to Petey somehow. Like, I'm just not really sure yet. But now we go to Petey's wake, where Harmony recognizes Mark. Mark sort of goes off, and he meets Petey's ex-wife and his daughter June, who's, I think, going to be really big in the show, really important and everything. And you can see the ex-wife is a little bit mad that Mark is there, as she knows that Mark, or she learns that Mark is a Severance employee. So she's mad that, like, this guy doesn't even know Petey. Like, he doesn't even actually know her ex-husband. And it makes sense why the family would be mad about Petey in the workplace. Like, even June even says, like, to Mark, like, do you think that, you know, shutting yourself off for half of your life is smart, or, you know, anything? So it just makes sense the family would be mad about that. So now at the wake, as they're watching a video of June and her father Petey sing Enter Sandman, which I think is a very fitting song for this show. If you actually listen to the lyrics, there's some sort of, like, dark aspects to that show that I think play well into the themes of this show. You know, if you go back and listen to this song, you probably, like, I'm sure you guys made some connections as well. But most importantly, while this is happening, we see Harmony's going to the casket of Petey, and she has a screw gun, right? And she's, you know, screwing a hole into Petey's head, and she takes something out. At this time, we don't know what it is, but as we know later on, it's Petey's, like, severed version, I think. I think it's, like, the memories and, like, the Severance version of Petey. And so now she has it, and she tells Milchick to bring it to diagnostics, where I guess they're going to run some diagnostic tests on it, you know, like, see what maybe he learned or what he was up to. I'm not really sure, but I'm excited to find out. I think that was really cool. And another big shock of this episode was her doing that. After this, we really get a really emotional scene with Mark. Before he goes home, he sort of goes back to his car, and he goes to a tree. And now we can just infer that this tree is the one that his wife crashed into and died, right? And so Mark sort of cries, breaks down. I think Adam Scott is the actor, right? Seeing his emotional sort of range here, I was taken aback by it. I was impressed by it to see his acting here. I thought it elevated the episode, this scene, having, like, this quiet, sympathetic moment for Mark, really, you know, drilling home the fact that how much he cares for his wife in this moment, how much it's always on his mind. I think it was a great scene to put in here, and it was emotional. You know, I'm sure some people maybe teared up for it. I thought it was a great scene. But after this, we're back in the severed world, and we get the scene where Harmony gives the pill to Milchick. She tells the wellness center girl that Mark needs a treatment, and you know, Milchick asks why, and she says that, trust me, he needs it. So Harmony is starting to figure out that Mark is sort of looking into too many things. I think they trust Mark as an employee, but they see that he's sort of not all there right now, or maybe that he's up to something, so she wants a wellness center treatment for him, and he's going to get that at the end of the episode. So after this, we had a couple of scenes where we see Irving go to Christopher Walken's character, who's like drinking from the water fountain. He's hanging up paintings. Irving agrees to go along as they hang up more paintings. They talk. We see Mark is in the bathroom reading his brother-in-law's book. I'm thinking that like because they don't know what's like his brother-in-law, I think they see this as like maybe a very important book from like the outside world, that's like very important. So I find that pretty funny that they think like maybe this is like this is like the Bible for them. That's what I'm thinking. Like this is like the most important piece of like literature that they've ever seen, because it's something that's foreign. It's like this foreign thing. As we see Dylan, we'll look into it as well and read it out loud at the end. I think that's like what kind of perception they have of this book. And I think that's very interesting. We also see Helly say goodbye to Dylan. She's holding wires. This is where, it's put in our brain, like, is she going to kill herself? Is she going to hang herself? As we see at the end, she does that. Dylan also finds the book, the brother-in-law's book. Now he knows that Mark never turned it in. This could be a big thing. Is Dylan going to rat out on Mark? That could be a big thing. Maybe like Harmony already has her sort of inclinations that Mark may be up to something. Dylan comes in and says, hey, like this book, Mark never turns it in. That could be a big thing. But he reads it out loud. I wasn't really paying attention to too much of what he was saying. As we know, this brother-in-law is the most competent person. Like he's not that smart. So I didn't really play into the words as much as maybe the show wanted us to. But as he's reading out loud, we get to see what all the characters are sort of doing. We see Harmony is looking in on the wellness treatment that Mark is being given. We see Helly start walking to the elevator with the wire. She gets a trash can. And we see Irving look for Christopher Walken's character, right? So this is where Irving finds the big room with all the people and the machines. Christopher Walken is in there. I didn't like go back and pause it and really, sort of like dissect and see what's going on here. Sort of a glimpse in the image of what it looks like. I don't know if I would find anything new, but I'm very interested in like what's actually going on there. Like obviously Christopher Walken doesn't just hang up paintings, he does something else. So maybe Dylan was right about him, how suspicious he is. I think Dylan was right. I think he's just playing Irving and maybe finding out some more things. And then we see Mark like sculpt a tree. And I think this plays into the fact of a line that I think Petey said it, to where your severed self still feels that guilt, but they just don't know where it comes from, right? So I think when he's sculpting the tree, he knows that a tree has some sort of significance to him. As his outie self, we know that the tree is a big part in the death of his wife. I think his severed self knows that a tree is important to him. He just doesn't know how. That's why he sculpts the tree. That's what I think. And then as we see, Helly kicks off the trash can in the elevator, and she presumably dies. I don't think she's dead. I hope not. Like I said, she's like my favorite character right now. If they just killed her off, I'd be kind of mad. I think they'll save her. I think, the elevator will open. The security guard or someone will pull her down, and that'll be it. But it did leave a shocking ending. So my rating for this episode is a 4.2 out of 5. For me, this is my favorite episode so far. I think it wasn't as thrilling as the last episode. The last episode was great too, very exciting. The thing about this one though, it had me like on the edge of my seat. It was a lot more thought-provoking for me. I was just right off the bat with Helly and her confession, just going from there. Everything with like Mark and Petey's wake. So many more questions with Harmony now. The Irving Christopher Walken thing, I like it. I think what they're doing, like I wouldn't expect it. If you told me that John Turturro and Christopher Walken was gonna have a romantic relationship in this show, I'd be like, what are you talking about? But it actually works well for me. I enjoy it, and like what that room he finds at the end, like what's all that about? Mark's emotional scene with the tree, I absolutely love that. I love seeing those quiet emotional moments with these characters. Helly with the video and the Audi. I find that dynamic so compelling. I think it's so interesting to find out why does the Audi so determined on making her severed self suffer? Obviously she sees it as not a person. I think it's very Black Mirror. If you guys ever seen Black Mirror White Christmas, there's this actually a same sort of concept. It's like she pulls a piece of her mind out, and it's like this Siri thing, and the whole point of that episode is that they don't really see that severed conscious being as a person. I think that's kind of like the same thing as what this show is, except it's like multiple episodes. And it's just very interesting that like they don't consider these people, even though like it is their flesh and it is their I guess conscious in a way. It's just like a big piece is missing, So I think they are people. The Audi is just sort of like deranged and just wants to forget her guilt and stuff. But that's pretty much it. Like last episode, I don't think there's too many like theories we can go. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of theories. I just don't like have any good ones right now. Like everything with that room that Irving found, like I don't know. I think that's like the most interesting piece of this episode. I just can't connect it right now. And then everything with like Petey and June. I wish we got to know more about June and Petey. I wish Mark would have picked up that phone, maybe listen to what's going to happen. That's definitely going to happen at some point, right? I love seeing the Audi portion of Mark a lot too. I think he's very interesting. But I mean, this Mark in the Severed World is very interesting as well. As we know, like he's reading the book, like he knows that something's up. I think he just doesn't want to confront it for some reason. But I think he's gonna have to. I think Dylan's gonna turn him in. I think Dylan's gonna go to Milchick or Harmony and say, "Hey, Dylan, you know, he found this book. He was supposed to turn it in. I mean, Mark found this book. He was supposed to turn it in. He never did." And then maybe they'll do a confession for him. As we know, they're already giving wellness centers the treatment, so they know something's up. I don't know. If you guys have any theories, though, any good ones or anything, just let me know down below. What do you guys think of this episode, though? Was it your favorite so far? I think for me, it's personally my favorite. If every episode keeps getting better and better, as I think it is right now for this show, this could be a really, really great show. I'm so excited to see what's in store. Having a great time with it. Another great episode. Flew by. Went by really quick. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it. Please make sure to subscribe if you're new. But I will see you on the next video. Have a great rest of the day.